Welcome into this edition of the Roundball Report. The regular season in the WNBA is finito, my friends. I'm Monica McNutt. This week, I'm joined by the co-host of the W podcast, Princess Streeter, who's keeping her eye on the beat of women's basketball all season long. How are you today, Princess?
I'm doing well. How are you, Monica?
I am fantastic, girl. So we were both at the Mystics' last home regular season game.
Right.
When Natasha Cloud came up very, very big against the Los Angeles Sparks. Now, to wrap up the regular season, the Mystics did go to Minnesota on Lindsay Whalen night and did not win, but I think paying homage to Lindsay Whalen is okay. They did, however, lock up a 3 seed in the playoffs. But let's go back to the last home game and see how things finished. We had a chance to catch up with one excited Natasha Cloud post-game.
My teammates put me in an extremely successful situation. They were confident in me, even when I was shooting like booty. Every time I came to the sideline, they were telling me to be confident, trusting the work that I put in the offseason. So it means a lot to me that Coach trusted me to put me in the last, couple possessions there, that he has enough trust in me to take care of the ball and, to turn things around. So I'm just appreciative, and glory to God.
Shooting like booty, and like you said, you shot over
Booty.
the reigning defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Where did that confidence come from? You've been playing better basketball this entire season, but where did it all come from to put it on the court?
It's a combination of this team. Right now we're rolling. Everyone has a pretty high confidence in each other as well as individually. And then the off-season work, I stayed home for the off-season, for moments like this, for a season like this. So really just trusting in the process and the work I put in, and my teammates having confidence in me brings a lot of confidence for myself.
I talked to Elena, and she said that originally the play was kind of drew up for her. She was supposed to have the ball. So
Yeah.
were you the second option?
Oh, yeah, I was the second option. And when I saw the ball, I said, okay, Brad, calm down now. You're at a 10. I need you to come down to a 5. That's my dog, though. But, I think Coach just said we only had 17 fouls called in total. So this is a playoff game. It's a playoff atmosphere. So to be challenged like this heading into the playoffs is huge for us. It gives us experience. It prepares us for what's next. But, we're taking it one game at a time. So we still have one game left of the regular season in Minnesota. I think they sold 14,000 tickets. It's Lindsay's last game. So, we need to come ready to play.
Good stuff post-game in the locker room. Now, the opponent in that game was the Los Angeles Sparks, and we're joined by phone, in addition to having Princess in studio. By phone, we're joined by this year's play-by-play voice for the Los Angeles Sparks, Angel Gray. Angel, how are you?
I'm doing well, especially listening to Natasha Cloud explain that last shot. I could be doing better, but all is well. How are you ladies?
We are fantastic. So let's jump into the conversation. We got one in person, we got one on the phone, but two sides of the coin here. Angel, you've been following the Sparks all season. This year, maybe not a position heading into the playoffs that they're accustomed to. What's going to be the key for the Sparks to make a deep playoff run this year?
I think their identity, if you've been following them, is just Brian Agler has consistently talked about the defensive end. Now, they're leading the league as far as opponents' defense. But as far as them sticking with that, they've had games where they've allowed a lot of teams to go off on them. And just building off of their defense, I think that they score a lot of their offensive points by getting stops on the defensive end. I think that's really key for them. And I've always said from the beginning of the year that it has to be a balanced attack by them. Obviously, they're headed by Candace Parker, who is just an MVP in so many different ways, and then Nneka Ogwumike, who sat out the last game and missed a couple of games due to illness as well. But Chelsea Gray, too, has to be clicking on all cylinders, and she is the consummate floor general, so she has to keep everybody in order. But at the end of the day, it's got to be Raquana Williams, Essence Carson, and getting more out of Jantel Lavender for them to really be the team that they've been in the last few years.
Angel, the past few years, the finals have been dominated by the Minnesota Lynx and the Los Angeles Sparks. It's almost been a guaranteed shoo-in that these two teams were going to meet. What does it mean now that these two teams are going to meet in the first round, the elimination round of this year's playoffs? Does it speak more to the parity of the league, or does it speak more to the dynasty that these two have established and the rivalry that's come between the two teams?
Well, I just tweeted out, you wanted parity? Well, you got it. I mean, the last 2 years, these teams have met in the finals and had the double bye. And now you're seeing them, that have struggled throughout this season, and now they're here for the single elimination game. One of the biggest rivalries, if not arguably the biggest rivalry in the league right now. And so at that point, I think it's because the league is growing. You have a lot of players like the rookies, especially in Ariel Atkins in D.C. that you guys have been able to see. But a lot of talent has come into this league the last couple of years, already building on the already heavy talent that they have. And look at what Asia Wilson has been able to do, even with the Las Vegas Aces. They didn't make the tournament. They didn't make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, that's a team that you definitely want to keep your eye out on. I think that each team from the bottom to the top, you're looking at Indiana, who finished last, and they beat the Sparks at home. So no team can be counted out at any given night. And I think that's very important that you realize and have to appreciate what these women have been able to do in this season. It's been entertaining. You can't really go in saying that anyone is supposed to win outside of the dynasty or the legacy that they've had coming in. But I really do think that it's been a lot of teams just growing, and the maturity level has gotten there, and the talent has gone through the roof.
I love that, girl. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break from this conversation. You're talking about the talent on the court. But, I got to give you some love. Shout out to you, the talent in the booth. Angel, this year, you wore a new hat for the Sparks. Just talk about what this season has meant to you, what it means for you as a woman of color in this particular business.
You know what? I'm glad that you said a woman of color. I don't wear that hat lightly. I know that there are so many other women, especially, look at Princess and look at you, who are in this business that are growing the game, that are really good at what they do. And I can't show up to work and not bring an A effort or, have all my, paperwork done and all my research there. So every single time I step up there, I understand that I am a Black woman, being able to have a voice and share the stories of these amazing women in this game. And I know that that's appreciated because they watch. And so I know that when we were growing up, we wanted to see that on TV. And so that's very important for me to make sure that I'm, one of the best, because I know that someone coming after us will have to fill those shoes. I think as far as play-by-play, it was a learning adjustment, girl. Let's be honest, girl.
You killed it, though. You and Mary killed it all season.
I really do appreciate it. It was. I'm a faith-led person, and I know when God opens a door that you just have to be prepared for it. And one of my favorite quotes is, you prepare for what you prayed for. And it was absolutely amazing for me to be with a team that has such, history with winning and being with a great franchise and being at the Staples Center and working with Mary Murphy and learning and growing with them and with a great production team that trusted in me. I showed up to my first meeting, and they were like, so how long have you done this? I said, this is my first game. And they said, well, this will be fun. And that it was. So I'm just very grateful for the opportunity. I don't wear that lightly, and I'm excited to grow in the position.
That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, so let's jump back into what's happening on the court. I think one of the interesting things to follow this season has been the race for MVP. If you had to cast your ballot, Angel, who is it going to?
I just had to fill out my ballot, so I hope no one's listening to this before it comes out.
We'll say hypothetically. This is just pretend for anybody listening.
I really do think if you're following the league from the beginning to the very end, Breanna Stewart has been so consistent and has been leading this league. Now Liz Cambage made a late surge and is now leading, but I think that what she's been able to do on the number one team in the league with so many different other people that are touching the ball with Sue Bird, Jewel Lloyd has been off the chain, you guys. Making her first All-Star appearance for this year. And then Natasha Howard, who came over from a winning program with the Lynx. The fact that all those players are together, and that's not taking away from any other team, because you have to have at least 3 to 4 players if you want to be that championship caliber team. But Breanna Stewart has been able to do that with those all-stars on her team, and I think that's been remarkable. Candace Parker is Candace Parker. She's just been able to string 20-point games. I think she had 20. I think she had 3 or 4 games straight where it was just 20-point games. And she's just been able to lead her team in that department, especially when, Nneka Ogwumike is not in the game. And when she has that look in her eyes, it's pretty much game over. But just as far as my top 4, I would have to say Breanna Stewart, Liz Cambage, Candace Parker, and then Elena Deladon with the Mystics, who has been remarkable and is shown why she is also a former MVP for this league.
I'm glad you gave our girl some love. I was wondering where she was in your list.
You mentioned Natasha Howard.
She's up there.
You mentioned Natasha Howard of the Seattle Storm, and I think it's so important that we note that she may be the most improved player of this year in the WNBA. Can you speak about the talent across the league from maybe even some direct players or just across teams in general? I mean, last year, like we said, LA and Minnesota were on top, and now they're not. What's going on in this league where this has honestly been one of the best seasons to date?
It's very interesting that you say that, too, because it's a more compact schedule. So they're playing back-to-back games on the road. I know you've been looking through, teams have been forfeiting games. But at the end of the day, this has been one of the most exciting years, right? I think it's just, honestly, this league is getting better. I don't know what's in the juice, but it's just getting better. When I'm looking at specifically Natasha Howard, she's been able to play with some amazing franchises and being coached by some amazing coaches, even with the Indiana Fever, if we're going back that far. She was able to be led by Stephanie White, who is one of the best X's and O's, and then also being under Tamika Catchings. Who wouldn't want to be under Tamika Catchings with her leadership, work ethic, and just a humble spirit as far as just get the job done? Then she goes over to the Lynx, and you already know that story with her. Cheryl Reeve is one of the best and one of the winningest coaches in this league, and then working with Maya Moore, Lindsay Whalen, and then Sylvia Fowles and Simone Augustus, and the list goes on. And then she finds her way, because she had a really good season with the Lynx, but then she found her way with Seattle, and I think it's been the perfect fit. She's taken a little bit of each team, that she's played on, and has taken that in her own, and she's been phenomenal. Isn't a flashy player, but gets the job done. And I think there's a lot of players across the league who aren't maybe in the top, 10 or 20 as far as scoring, but they get the job done. And I think that's very important because regardless if you're getting the credit, you're doing what you need to do in order for your team to be successful. And look at where they are. They are number one.
For sure, for sure. Natasha Howard has been terrific this season, nitty-gritty. And her game is one of those things that you have to appreciate nuance to fully grasp the way she's been able to adapt to each situation. All right, Angel, we're wrapping up this block. We so appreciate your time. But before I let you go, I'm curious, what's been a storyline that you've been pleasantly surprised by this year in your role?
A storyline. Oh, that's a tough one. I think we've kind of hit on it just with so many teams being able to just shine and grow. But I would have to say, just with the playoffs amongst us, this is the LA Sparks and the Minnesota Lynx, and they've already played each other 4 times this season. This will be their 5th time. And so with that, what will we see here? And then being, at the very, the first single elimination game, I think it's going to be exciting to see who grows there. But as far as the league, I couldn't be more impressed with the many players that have gone off throughout this season. So I'm just excited for Tuesday for the LA Sparks, and then also for Thursday for Phoenix and Dallas. That'll be a good one as well.
That is awesome, Angel. Well, girl, I am so appreciative of your time. Yes, I slipped into girl mode because that's my girl. We've been in the business grinding for a minute. We wish you the best of luck in terms of your call tomorrow. Please keep up the fantastic work.
Thank you so much, and you too as well, okay?
All right, we'll talk soon, babe. All right, guys, so I love that we talk so much about the parity because I remember before the season, you and Wilson sat right here and talked about growing the game. It's been a success, would you not say?
I would definitely say, but I think when we talked about growing the game, it was from a media standpoint. We definitely have to talk about how great the players have been and the tremendous play and the records that have been broken and just how everyone has played with so much grit and poise at the same time. It's such a magnificent thing to see in this league, and it's definitely grown.